But even today, something that I think is like, now you have to do it right, but even networking on LinkedIn, because when you think about it, I don't have to have a large network, but people there are well networked. They're there to hear about opportunity. It really only just takes to kind of like crack the code to get the business started is one person with a network. It's not about who I know, but it's also about who they knew too. And in the process, this is a little bonus tip I would always be asking, who do you know? Who do you know that would be great for the products? Who do you know that would be great for the business as it's expanding, and asking for referrals too.
Welcome to MLM Nation, a podcast of leaders, by leaders, for leaders, hosted by Simon Chan. He's built a team of over 200,000 and is now a full-time MLM coach and trainer. So if you're ready to level up your business, join us now. Let's do this.
MLM Nation, this is Simon Chan. I'm fired up to bring our special guest today. And I am excited because this legend, I've wanted to get her on the show for over a decade. So it's been a decade in the making when we launched our show. Before I tell you who it is, way back in 2015, like who are the top legends in the industry, and we're Sarah Robbins. So if you don't know who Sarah Robbins is, she's one of the most respected and successful leaders in the network marketing profession. She's the founder of the Multiply Method. It's a proven system that helped her team create the largest and fastest growing sales force in the history of the industry. And that's how I first knew about her, but she was busy building, busy with her family. And the timing wasn't right. But under her leadership, her team achieved over $2 billion in sales in just 5 years, breaking all type of records in the industry. Her company, unfortunately, last year gave up the network marketing model, and she had to start all over recently. But for this second time around, she used the same Multiply Method, and her team grew even faster. Aside from being a leader, she also has one of the best network marketing blogs, one of the best-selling network marketing books called Rock Your Network Marketing Business, and the creator of the Network Marketing Inner Circle, a community for people in the profession, and also the Multiply Mastermind for top leaders. And she's also writing a new book, which I'm really excited about, where she goes in details of the Multiply Method, which we're going to talk more about today. So anyway, Sarah, welcome to the show. Finally. I know, but we did meet at the John Maxwell event.
Yes.
I remember.
Yes.
The John Maxwell event 2016 in Atlanta.
Yeah.
I got to meet you. I exchanged phone numbers. Said, oh, great. I'm going to have Sarah Robbins on my show. Literally, I know I had to wait another 8 years.
Well, you were right. Just a little bit later.
But I know this is going to be a good one. But take us back. For those who don't know your story, what did you used to do, and how did you get into network marketing?
Yeah, and right now I've just been busy, building businesses, raising babies, all the things. But I started in the profession when I was a shy young teacher. I was teaching kindergarten and first grade. And although I was the most requested teacher in the building, tenure trumped performance. So back in the recession of 2008, we all know Motown, Motor City, what happened in Metro Detroit, the automotive industry. So schools were closing. I was facing the loss of my job as families were moving. And that is actually what caused me first to look for extra income. Not necessarily direct sales or network marketing. I was working for a cosmetics company, just supplementing my income, right place, right time, when they said, we want to reach more people. So they decided they would take the brand out from under the retail counter and go into direct sales. And they called my mom and I, who were both working for the company at the time, and they said, do you want to do this? And I'll just be really honest. I didn't know anything about this, except for I was like, I don't want to do sales. And my mom was like, she's a savvy, serial entrepreneur. She's like, I know stories of people who do these businesses and have great success. She said, we would be crazy not to do it. So I started shy, young kindergarten teacher in my young 20s, no network. I was broke. All of my friends were young and broke like me. But what I did was I started to become a student of the profession. And I thought, if there are other people that are doing this and doing this successfully, surely I can learn. So I would go to the industry events. I would buy the books and all of the magazines like Networking Times, and I was reading all the stories. And I started to really learn. And that's when my business took a shift and things started to really take off. We built that team, just the team, to over $2 billion in sales. We got to $1 billion in under 5 years. And we built their same business. And by the way, we didn't have anybody in our team with industry experience. It was quite an anomaly. I mean, it was really incredible what that team was able to achieve nearly 20 years in. And ours was a tale of private equity. They decided to shift the model and let us know just at the drop of a dime that we were going to lose 99.9+% of our income. And so it caused me to really pause and go, what do I want to do next? Because we had great success in that company. It took me just a split second to go, of course I want to stay in the profession. And I love our profession because it changes so many lives. But really what it did was I thought, I'm not starting over. I'm starting with wisdom, with experience, with systems. And it put everything I knew to the test. There's this whole kind of industry, conversation or kind of question is if you do it once, can you do it again? And so that for me was part of an interesting part of this new book that I wrote was, it's everything was written. It was actually set to launch right around the time that I had that, dreaded phone call. And it was now here I am having to comb through every word and say, is this still relevant today? Is this what I'm doing today? Now, the great news is we're building faster than the first time, and we've established some incredible systems for our team. But really what it did was, cause us to go, okay, you have a different level of excellence when you're starting over. You really do. And a different level of involvement as you're creating a new customer base, as you're recruiting new people. And so the system performed, and here we are today.
Going back to when you first started, did you have success right away?
Oh, no. When I first started, it took me 3 months to recruit my first person. I remember when I had 2 people and one person quit, and I was like, oh no, half of them quit. What am I ever going to do? So I will say there was nothing about my background, nothing about my personality that would have, caused somebody to go, oh gosh, of course she'd be successful. I wouldn't have been on somebody's dream team list. That's for sure. But what I was coachable, and I had a real hunger and desire to succeed. That's what one of my mentors always says. Her name is Leslie. And she's like, I had dinner with somebody the other day and they're like, how did Sarah Robbins become successful? She was like, I remember literally sitting down with her at an Italian restaurant, crying over her pasta. How was she going to make $2,000 a month? Because that's what I needed to make back in the day if I lost my teaching job. And she said, I tell people one thing, and that is Sarah was coachable. And she's right. I became a student of this from the beginning because when you think about, we didn't have an upline follow. That's how new our company was. So I really had to follow the people in the industry who were doing it and then create our own systems to help our team to win. But that is where I do think being a former teacher, right, that advantage comes in is I know how to take a complex thing, make it simple, and create a system for it.
When you say coachable, give me an example where you're coachable and had to change.
Oh gosh, I have so many of them. I remember a really funny time where I approached somebody at a cosmetic counter, and I remember just thinking, it's like that network marketing verbal vomit. What am I going to say to her? And making it all about me. And I remember approaching her and just picking up this bottle of skincare, and my hands were shaking and my knees were knocking, and I actually saw stars. And I did the network marketing verbal vomit all over her. I just spewed my opportunity out. And I remember her just looking at me like a deer in headlights. And so I went to my car and I called my mom, who's my sponsor. And I'm like, what do I do? Do I go back there? She's like, don't go back there. Get out of there. And I'm like, how am I going to be successful in a business of networking if I'm afraid to talk to people? So I knew in that moment I had to become a student of networking. It was like buying the books, how to win with friends and influence people, how to literally show up at events. I would force myself to go to networking events. And it was probably the most dreaded thing I will ever do. I still remember today, what I was wearing, how I was feeling, literally just sweat, everywhere. And I decided again that if I was going to do this, I was going to double down on learning the skill set. And it's not just what to say, but it's also to developing myself in order to win.
What do you mean by developing yourself? In what ways did you have to change your thinking?
Yeah. Okay. This actually, I tell this sometimes when I do trainings, was my come to the parking lot moment. Some people are like, your come to Jesus moment. This was my I'm sitting in a parking lot. I remember just feeling really bad for myself. It was one of the times where, I was probably the least highest earner in the company, if ever there was a title. And I remember my mom's friend calling me. Her name's Rochelle. And she said, Sarah, do you want to know what your challenge is? And I was like, yes, because if somebody could tell me what the problem is, surely I can fix it. And she's like, you have to make a decision. She's like, you show up, you do all the things, but you have never decided. You will show up, you will do all the things, but it's like, I hear you just speaking self-defeating things. And she's like, you really have to work on your personal development. And I remember literally for a period of time just studying the power of my words. And I worked harder on me than I even did in my business. But the best thing is it impacted my business. And when it wasn't true, I was declaring, I will be the top earner in this company. I have the fastest growing team. And I started to really like what it did was it strengthened my faith, right? And it also helped me to align every single one of the actions that I was taking with my words as well. So, and that's something even too that I still do today.
Let's go back to what you said before and give an actionable tip. You talked about approaching that woman at the beauty counter and you just vomited all over the place, right? What would you do today if you were in that situation?
Yeah. Now when I teach prospecting, and I share this in my book, is all about how to strike up a conversation and with people you know or people that you meet. And it's compliment, conversation, connection. That's kind of the flow. So what I would have done with this lady is paid her a genuine compliment. Like, thanks for your great service today. And then went into a conversation by asking a question. How long have you worked here? If it's somebody that, let's say somebody I know and I'm on social media, what I'll do now is I'll scroll their feed. I'll scroll to see something that I can compliment or congratulate them on, and then ask them a question to get into conversation. So really now it's like the practical, tactical stuff we're so used to. It's like, give me the script. But really, it's all about striking up conversation with people. And then, of course, seeing if they have, if they're a fit for what we do. So again, going back to compliment or congratulations, asking a question, which gets us into conversation, and then eventually making that connection. Like, hey, I'd love to reconnect. Let's sit down for coffee, hearing more about them naturally saying, well, what do you do? I'm a teacher, but my passion is my new business. Well, what is it, right? Oftentimes I find people will say, well, where do I find people? And I'm like, the question is not where to find people. There are people everywhere. We're surrounded by people. We got to get out of our house, go where the people are. Usually they want to know what to say. And this is a simple way to break the ice because, again, the number one thing that people love to talk about is themselves. And it's very simple to get good at conversation by asking people a lot of questions.
So if someone's at the beauty counter and you have that conversation and then they ask you, what do you do? And what would you say?
Yeah. So again, I love to say that I'm a teacher, but my passion is my online business. Or I'm a retired teacher, but my passion is my online business, because it leads them to say, well, what do you do? And I will say the ultimate goal is to, a lot of times, let's say somebody's there, they're working, whatever, and maybe it's not appropriate to talk more about my business, but it's to make that connection. So that's the last piece, for after that, where I say compliment, conversation, connection, is to exchange information and to say, hey, I know you're on the job, or, it was so great meeting you. I'd love to stay connected, and passing my phone. Are you on social? Let's connect. And kind of taking that conversation over, kind of to the next step.
I think a mistake a lot of people make is like they try to present on the spot.
Yes.
Right. And then you just talk too much, or you're in a rush because they're at the job they're not supposed to be. And then you just put them, it becomes a very awkward situation.
Yes. And we get ahead of ourselves and we're in our brain then thinking, oh my gosh, how do I pitch this person, or how do I close this thing? And I would say when you prioritize relationship over revenue, people over profit, you're the person that people want to do business with any day anyway. So really it's about making that connection, exchanging, information on social media. If you have a sample, sharing it and say, hey, I'd love to stay in touch. Let's follow up. Here's my phone. Let's connect on social. I also love not asking permission-based questions like, can we connect on social? I'll say, let's connect on social. And then of course, the fortune is in the follow-up, right? Making that having that follow-up piece, but also remembering too, now they're a part of your online audience. Now they're seeing what it is that you do. I have a fun story. I was actually sitting on the beaches of Bora Bora at my former company on a company sponsored trip. And one of my top leaders today, she didn't know her at the time. She was there visiting Bora Bora with her family. She tells the story. We were on the beach. We're being funny. We're having fun in the pool. She's like, I wonder how all these people ended up here. Like, did they win the lottery? Like, I should ask. And again, I prioritized the person. I prioritized the connection, the relationship. I talked all about her. I learned enough to know she was former Mrs. Hawaii. She had a degree in nutrition, why she was there with her family. And I talked all about her. I asked her a lot of questions. At the end, I was like, hey, let's stay in touch. Let's connect on social. We connect on social media. She tells a story. She goes up to her hotel room. She was like, it was driving me so crazy. You didn't talk about you. You didn't talk about what you do. So I started scrolling your social media and I figured it out. And she sent me a message and she goes, hey, I see you're in direct sales. I see you're in this company. I want to join your team. And she recruited herself. And again, the rest is history. That ended up being one of our top 3 legs or leaders within our organization. And now she's part of our business today, which is so incredible. But again, it's all about prioritizing that relationship and then, making that connection later on.
I love that. Prioritize relationship over revenue. Is that one of the chapters in your book?
Oh, yeah. We talk a lot about that. And we talk a lot about in the multiply method, like how to strike up conversation in every setting, whether it's people you know, whether it's people you meet, even how to talk to people on social media, giving them really, it's like, yes, where to find people, but words that work. It's what to say, but without having it being an overwhelming script. Because to your point earlier, then the only thing happening in my mind is, oh my gosh, how do I pitch this person? What do I say? And that rarely ever works.
So if someone's new and they are reaching out to people on social media, but they're not getting responses back, what do you suggest? Like they're sending out messages, I'd love to connect with you. What's the biggest problem?
Yeah. Well, I think, and I will just share from an experience, my own story. I had somebody reach out to me. It was during the pandemic. I was pregnant and I got a sales pitch. Okay. So clearly somebody, again, because I've been in this industry for a while, I've coached a lot of people. My heart, I'm like, okay, I want to help her, but I can see why she's probably not having a great response. And the reason being was she sent me a sales script and it was all about her and it was nothing about me, right? Connecting with the person. Here I was pregnant. It's the pandemic. We could send a message like, hey, congratulations. I see you're pregnant. How have you guys been? Prioritize again, that person, that relationship. But instead it was, hey, I'm doing this new business. I'm trying to meet my month-end goals. This is what I sell. Will you help me to, make some purchases? And I thought, this is somebody I haven't talked to in forever. Now, was I upset? No, because this is, again, what I do for a living. So I went and I said, I know her heart. I know her intentions. She's excited about her business. But I was like, hey, could I help you with just a better way? And she was like, sure. And that's, again, where it comes in is if she would have just taken some time, right? And this is what I coach, just take some time. And sometimes, and when people are like, how long? I'm like, it could be a couple messages back and forth. It could be a couple hours back and forth. It could be a couple days back and forth. Maybe it's a couple weeks back and forth of really rekindling that relationship. And by the way, like if I were to go to your page and we hadn't talked for a while, let's pretend, you're not in the profession and you're a friend and I'm going, okay, how do I reconnect with Simon? What do I do? What do I say? I'm going to go to your social media. I'm going to study. I'm going to see what is something that recently happened in his life that I can congratulate him for, that I can compliment him on. Oh, kids are, off to school. Oh, they moved. Oh, they had, they started a new job, whatever it is. And then even think ahead of time as what question can I ask? How have you guys been? Fill me in on the move. How are you loving school? So again, it's prioritizing that relationship and letting that conversation take its natural course. Now, I will say up front, I would say like we need to state the obvious and be like, hey, Simon, I realize it's Sarah. I realize it's been a while, but your post popped up in my feed. Congrats on the move. How have you guys been doing? And then again, a series of questions, which eventually, what are you going to say? How have you guys been doing? What have you been up to? And it leaves that open door for conversation.
Yeah, I think another thing that's missing is like people are not posting,
Yeah.
right? So the people don't get to, people buy from people they know, like, you trust. And I think you said a great point, like, how long does it take to, people want the one answer, like take 3 messages and you send out the invite, or the 5, but everyone is different, right? Like some people get on my show right away. Some people it takes 12 years to get on, right? Like you, everyone's different because everyone's unique and have different life situations, right? And I think right before we talk about connecting, before on this, before we hit record, I went to your Facebook and I scrolled through your stuff and I feel like, oh, I know exactly what Sarah's doing.
Yeah.
Right. I think a lot of you, if you're reaching out to people, you're not going to respond because people click on your profile and they don't know who you are. You look like a spam account. So make sure you do that post. So why don't you share a little bit more about this multiplier method?
Yes, I would love to. And thank you for allowing me to share it. So the multiply method is all about just simple systems for building a solid, sustainable network marketing team. This is what they call a galley copy. It'll be pretty and shiny and all of that good stuff. But basically, I've taken each part of the business that you have to master in order to be successful and given people, just like we talked about today, words that work, simple systems. So things like prospecting, which is like the art of inviting. Who do I talk to? What do I say in every setting? And once I capture their attention, presenting, how do I share this with people professionally, right? Again, without sounding so scripted. Now that I've captured their interests, how do I close them? So it's conquering the close, answering the most common objections. And this is a big one, effective enrolling and onboarding. I think one of the main reasons why people don't sponsor new people is even if they don't realize it, sometimes subliminal fear, they're afraid. If I do sponsor somebody, then what do I do next? So this is like our simple system to start somebody strong, to launch somebody strong every time. And the goal is this is going to work for anybody in any company. Once I have them.
Now, I want to add something.
Yeah. Yeah.
And to that fear is like they stop sponsoring, maybe sponsor one because they're afraid they're going to fail. And then they're responsible for that person. Because the number one, they don't know, like you said, they don't know how to train them. And then it's their fault. And then they're going to be terrible. They're going to be a terrible leader. And then they just freeze and don't do anything.
It's true. It's true. And that is what is stalling so many people. Goes through things like customer acquisition and retention. Obviously, having simple selling system is the number one system you have to master in order to create a sales team. And then a lot on social media. I love to generate leads online. That's the majority of the people that I've sponsored in my new business. And the majority of them actually come to me through my content. And so there's a whole chapter on social media, which I love because I think it's so important that, listen, when I started building, when we first met, social media was so different. You used to be able to show up and say what you ate for lunch and you got 1,000 likes, Now there's a level of mastery to it, a level of storytelling. Like, you have to know how to use each platform, how to get engagement, and even how to get the right call to action so you can follow up with people. And by the way, I do teach people. I'm like, every time somebody engages on your post, it starts a conversation. Hey, thanks for loving my post. Have you tried anything like this before? Right? So again, sharing all of these tips in the book, there is a section for leaders who lead a sales team, which is about really a duplication system, or I like to say like how to create a sales team that multiplies. So every single element of what you need to know if you're in this industry, if you want simple, if you want systems, if you want language, if you want sales strategy, all of it is in this book. And as I shared earlier, when I lost everything and I had to rebuild, it put my system to the pressure cooker and it performed. I had to literally say, is everything still true that I wrote in this book now that I'm starting totally anew? And it caused me to go, let's refine the language. Let's tune this process. And it was powerful because this isn't the system that just works for me, but thousands of others that I've coached successfully over the years and even today. And I can tell you this, it's simple. In fact, you'll be surprised at how simple it is.
Why do you think it worked even better today than it did when you started like 17 years ago?
Well, the systems.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Multiply method.
Yeah. Well, I will tell you, there's so much that I learned. And this is what I would say about having, for example, a coach or even a coach inside of a book, right? It saves you time and it makes you money. It shortens your learning curve. It gives you the strategy that you need to finally succeed and actually grow. And so much of what I learned in the beginning was failing forward and trying so many different things. And now I'm like, okay, I'm not starting I'm starting with wisdom and years of experience. But here's the thing I know for certain is, the selling environment has changed. Social media has changed. Our industry has changed. So even though there are tried and true best practices in here that were no different than when I started nearly 20 years ago, there are brand new things that I've learned today that I'm able to share in the book.
So last year, I think everyone was shocked at what happened to your company.
Oh, yeah.
I know you mentioned before you went back, but why, while a lot of people are having doubts about this profession now, why did you decide to go back?
Isn't that interesting? I always say, man, if anybody would go back, it shows the level of belief that I have. And trust me when I say I had so many different options and opportunities outside of being in the field again, even outside of the industry. And as I mentioned, it was a real fast decision to say, of course, I want to do this again. And I think the biggest thing that I would encourage people is our story. It was very rare and unique. And even the stories of, companies that did this similar things. Listen, it's not just our industry, the economy, right? Everything in the world has really shifted. But the one commonality is there was, some similar parts of our story for us. Our story was, again, as I mentioned earlier, was like a tale of private equity. People who just came in and really didn't understand the business, who wanted to turn a profit fast and get the return on investment. And so for me, I know just because, one bad thing happens, it's not all companies are created equal. There's companies that have been around for decades. There's companies that have been around, like the industry, for over 100 years. When I look at this business model, I think, where else could I start something that I can do on my time, my terms, where a business I can become profitable right away, regardless of the level of investment or my experience. I have seen this industry change countless lives. And I truly know there's nothing else out there like it today. I will say this to you now, having built the success that we have, and even, where we live in Southern California. There's so many, we're surrounded by successful people. I'll go to these events and people are like, you guys have it made. You don't have overhead. You don't have employees. You don't have a brick and mortar building. Like, I should figure out how to do what you do. Again, there's nothing else out there like it. And again, the way that it grows people, not just, their income and obviously helping them to leverage time, but personally and professionally too. Like, I look back and I'm like, I am not the person I was when I started this business. And it's because of this business that it forced me to stretch myself in that way and to grow.
If you're really busy, you have a very hectic schedule, and you have a family, your mom, how do you stay consistent?
Yeah. Time blocking. And I will say, I never sacrificed my why in pursuit of it. So, even in this busy season, right, where I'm starting all over, I've got 2 businesses, 2 babies, only 1 network marketing business, but it's a lot. And for me, it's like the majority of what I'm doing, like right now, is when the kids are at school, they're doing their thing and I'm prioritizing and I'm going, what do I need to do? The other thing is too, is like outsourcing. And I did this in the beginning, even when I wasn't making a lot of money, was I hired help. In the beginning, it was, I need to find somebody 1 Saturday or 2 Saturdays a month to clean my house. So I had 8 hours to work on my business. I eventually ended up getting an assistant because I realized these aren't all things that I need to do just because I can do, but it's like, where can I outsource when necessary, but also prioritize my time too? Nobody creates our busy schedule but us.
What's your routine like in the typical day?
Yeah. I wake up, spend time. This is what I did this morning. I had my son, who's old enough to understand. We did our morning devotional time together. He reads one out loud, then we would read one as a family, spend some time just in prayer and, just connecting, being together. Then comes the school shuffle and doing all the things that we do, packing up kids, snacks, lunches, all the things. And then once they're off, I'm into my own time. I will usually spend some time. My faith is really important to me. So I've got like my devotionals and everything actually sitting out right over here on my desk as I'm talking to you. I'll prioritize my time and then I'll take a look into my day. It's like, what do I need to do? I love making lists and prioritizing like what's the most important thing right now. And just some non-negotiables too is like my health, because health is wealth. If we're not healthy, what do we have? Making sure I'm getting in those steps, making sure I'm getting in the workouts, the water every single day. and really making sure that, I'm prioritizing in those brief moments of time the things that are most important.
Talk about a little bit about your mastermind, because that's something when I found out I was very curious about.
Yeah.
What is it? How often do you guys meet? And where can people learn more about it?
Yeah. So it's called the Made to Multiply Mastermind, and it's a real cool story. I created it because it was something I was looking for. So it's for leaders in the industry. There is an element of faith, which makes it very unique, but it's a big part of who I am. So it is a faith-based mastermind, but it does teach leaders in our channel how to multiply their network marketing business. So strategies and systems. The best part is about a mastermind. You're learning from one another, but also how to elevate their personal brand. Part of the reason why I feel like I really weathered that storm so well was because I created a personal brand for myself in this space. There's two things that I did well, and all of it is what we really anchor into in the mastermind. Was number one, I doubled down on leadership and relationships in good times and in hard times. I never took my foot off the gas, and I was always a present leader with my team, which is what caused people to go, oh, I want to follow you to the next chapter. But what caused people who weren't connected to that chapter to say, I want to join you in this new thing? It was because I had built a brand in this space. And that's something that I really encourage all leaders in our channel to do if they want to have a long-term career in this space. Again, is develop the systems to support your team and lead from the front in the good times and in the hard times. Leaders lead on the mountaintop, they lead in the valley. But also, two, double down on creating a personal brand for yourself in space. We don't need to live in fear. If something changes, if you've developed a personal brand, you can lead well in the next season. There's always going to be open doors and opportunities. When that announcement came to me, it wasn't one where I was like, oh my gosh, I'm so afraid. Again, it was a choice. What do I want to do next?
Yeah, getting back to your mastermind, is this something you meet in person, or is it you do it 1 year, or is it a couple of months? How does it work?
So,
and by the way, for those listeners who don't know what a mastermind is, it's basically top leaders get together and you have fun, you network, you share ideas.
Yeah.
The ones I've been a huge fan of them. That's why I want to ask you about
it. It's the Made to Multiply Mastermind. So you can just look online and you'll find there's like a little application process. We meet twice a month on Mondays. So 2 Mondays a month. And we do it virtually. And it's incredible because it's top leaders from many different companies all coming together to share best practices, but also brainstorm. If there's something that's not working, we're able to pick each other's brains and share. Like our last session, we were talking about how to build your personal brand online. And it was incredible. The tips that people were sharing, different technology they were using, different platforms they're trying, different strategy, reach out language, etc., which was so fun. So we always combine that, like the best practices, the brainstorming, with also bringing in some sort of expert to help us grow. So we've had people like John Maxwell, Jamie Kern-Lima, our friends Rory and AJ over at Brand Builders that have come in. And these are people that these are my personal mentors, people that I'm seeking out because of the relationships that I've built. They're like, hey, let me come in and share with your people. And we do a once a year as well, an in-person event. So that's always a lot of fun too, where we come together in person and we strategize at my home. We do a fun chef dinner on the Friday night. Saturday, we do a big mastermind day. Sunday morning, because it is faith-based, we do a sunrise service, which is really cool. And again, it was just that very thing that I was looking for. It's, to have that high level of masterminding, but also to anchor into that element of faith too. Now, not everybody who's joined, we've actually had this, that not everybody who's joined started in faith. And it's really been amazing to see how their lives and even their faith, their spiritual walk has transformed as a part of being in community and doing a year of journeying together.
MLM Nation, the reason I asked Sarah that question is I think one of the missing elements of success and that we're marketing that's not emphasized enough is being in a mastermind, a community. I know it plays a huge part of my success. Just being around successful people will motivate you and get you to the next level. I can't underestimate the importance of that. Whether Sarah's mastermind or some other mastermind, you definitely need to be plugged in with people who are at least your level or better. And that's how you take things to the next level. So as we wrap up, Sarah, some really quick questions to pick your brain. Okay, these could be really quick. Let's keep them short, like one sentence. First one is, what is one of your favorite success quotes that motivates you?
Oh, one of my favorite success quotes that motivates people. Okay, so it's not a quote, but it's more of a saying, and it's from my mentor, John Maxwell. And he says, I multiply leaders who multiply leaders. And it's really all about this idea of like the multiplication effect. So for me, that's what I do, right? And that's what we do. And so it's keeping that top of mind is this idea of multiplication, that everything we do duplicates, from the brand new person to how we're working with leaders to how we even conduct ourselves and conversations, et cetera. So I would say more than anything, it's something that I'm always keeping top of mind.
What is one habit that's helped you become successful?
Spending time being grounded in faith, for sure.
What's the best piece of advice you ever received?
Never quit. I remember Donna Johnson telling me, she said, Sarah, I know handfuls of people who'd be millionaires today if they didn't quit. She's one of my mentors in this profession. There's one story I tell in my very first book, and I call her the $50 million woman. One woman who joined, she quit. The team went to be the second largest team in our company. She would have earned $50 million collectively if she didn't quit.
What's your favorite prospecting tool? So say you have a qualified prospect right now. What do? Do you send them a video? Do you send them a company video or personal video or Zoom? We get on the phone or you meet? What do you like to use?
Yeah, all of the above. But I will say I created a landing page with just a 3-minute video of me, my favorite opportunity presentation for people who are a little more tech savvy. Hook it up to ManyChat, but make sure that you personally follow up.
What's your favorite app on your phone that's not a social media app?
Oh man, that's a hard one. Let's see. What do I use most? That's not a social media app. I don't know that it's my favorite, but it is my most used. It's like our kids' app at school. I love, was this podcast? Does that count as
Sure, that works.
app? Okay, let's go with that one.
Your book is coming out soon. I know you have a special right now for pre-orders. Can you share a little bit more about that?
Yeah, so they can go to themultiplymethod.com. And if you pre-order, so the pre-order window will go from now through July, we are giving a free workbook, so an implementation workbook. Each chapter has basically a challenge that you can do, and each challenge is designed to generate new leads. So think about, you're going to be generating new leads chapter by chapter. The implementation workbook will help. So when you order one at themultiplymethod.com, you'll get the workbook free. If you do a 5-pack, and think about how fun this is, this can be for your team or for your future team which you're sure to get when you implement the method. You get 6 sessions of coaching on the method with me for free. It's me. It's not my team. It's like a one-time thing that I'm doing it in the honor of the launch. So that can be used for welcome gifts, incentives, etc., but totally free coaching on the method when they purchase 5. Again, themultiplymethod.com, or you can find it on Amazon. Just make sure you enter your receipt at themultiplymethod.com to get the free workbook.
And we will put all those links in the show notes page on mlmnation.com. Aside from your books, what are 2 or 3 other books you could recommend, Sarah?
I am an absolute fan of John Maxwell. I love all of his books, and I have literally, well, you can't see because it's over there, all of the stacks. Another fun one too. I mentioned earlier, for people who have a hard time networking, which I think is the most impactful thing for us in our profession, to learn how to win friends and influence people. For the person who's like, it's an oldie but a goodie. I've got to get great at this business of networking. That's a really powerful one too.
And here's the last question, the $1 million question. You ready?
Ready.
So imagine you had to start all over again and you knew no one.
Oh,
so
Lord.
Your contact list was 0. You didn't know your kids. You didn't know your family. But you have all your current knowledge, skills, and wisdom. Ooh. So your social media contact list is 0 too. You have no friends. What's the first thing you do or the first place you go to build a network marketing business from scratch?
Wow, that's a really great question. See, I can imagine starting over because I just did that, but imagine starting over with no contacts. Well, that's what I did in the beginning. And the very first thing that I did was I put myself in front of other leaders and people with great networks. So what I would probably do is this. Go back to some of those networking things. I can do them in person and online. I also did events. Like I did trade shows back then because I was like, all of these people are entrepreneurial and they're here, they're hustlers, they're going to make more money. I would set up early, tear down late, and I would go and network, make friends with those people. But even today, something that I think is like, now you have to do it right, but even networking on LinkedIn, because when you think about it, I don't have to have a large network, but people there are well networked. They're there to hear about opportunity. We actually found several of our leaders through LinkedIn. It really only just takes to kind of like crack the code to get the business started is one person with a network. It's not about who I know, but it's also about who they knew too. And in the process, this little bonus tip, I would always be asking, who do you know? Who do you know that would be great for the products? Who do you know that would be great for the business as it's expanding, and asking for referrals too.
As we wrap up, any last words or advice? And then what's the best way our listeners can connect with you, Sarah?
Yeah. So you can find me at sarahrobbins.com. My name is Sarah with an H, Robbins, two B's. And best word of advice is never quit. Never quit. Again, it's the advice that my mentor gave to me in the beginning. She said, Sarah, I know people who'd be millionaires today if they just didn't quit. You never know what people will do, and you never know who they will lead you to.
Hey, MLM Nation, you're the average of the 5 people you spend the most time with. And today you're being hanging out the legend, Sarah Robbins. So keep up the momentum. Head over to MLMNation.com and click on the podcast tab, the show notes, or the detailed summary recap of what the lessons that Sarah shared. Also, the links to her book, to her mastermind, and her social media. Definitely go follow her, learn about personal branding, see how she does it. They're all there. Hey, in order to be successful in life, in business, and in network marketing, you must help others. So, Sarah, thanks again for sharing your valuable time with MLM Nation. We're grateful to you, and we appreciate you for having a positive impact on millions of distributors worldwide. Thank you so much again, and God bless you.
Thank you. God bless.
Hey, MLM Nation, make sure you go to the podcast show notes page and follow Sarah Robbins, amazing leader, going through the ups and downs and through the test of time. And she's done it before, and she did it again. And after we ended the interview, it was so funny. And this is what prospecting, what Sarah was talking about, right? It took me, 10 years, 11 years, like 10 and a half years for me to get her back on the show. And that was late 2014, 2015. I reached out to her like 10 years ago. And then I met her in late 2016 in person. So, I finally want to get her. I didn't get her on the show. And then the funny thing that I finally got on. So the lesson that Sarah shared, just like prospecting for anything, I'm prospecting for a podcast, right? I have the reputation, but you never give up. And Sarah's like, hey, you got to share that. It's true. You never give up. And also, the funny thing is, I didn't actually prospect her. I didn't reach out to her because I've been busy getting other guests. There's so many other leaders who want to be on here. She actually reached out to me because she is in a stage in her life, in her business journey, where the timing was right for her. She reached out to me. Hey, this is like prospecting. This is like how she recruited that Stacy leader in Bora Bora. So they didn't join right away. It was when the timing was right. And that's why you never quit. Go follow her. Go get that book, The Multiplier Method. It's worked before. And I love when we talk about most people, it's importance of social media and how you start a conversation. You compliment your conversation, you make that connection. Most people, they don't know how to compliment. They just go start pitching, right? Or they get into a conversation and they start presenting right away, right? I like what she said, the chapter where it's prioritize relationship over revenue, right? Work on that relationship and the timing will be right. And if you have no one right now in your contact list, it may take you some time to go out there, build those relationships. If you do have people, then go reach out to them. But the importance is, again, people buy from people they know, like, and trust. Like, and trust. So you got to be posting on social media consistently, letting people know who you are. And if you don't feel comfortable doing that, then, that's why you need to change. You're not going to be successful like that. People got to feel like they know who you are, especially in this day and age. And I think it's just very exciting and affirming to know a leader that she lost a lot of. She was making, multiple 6 figures, if not 7 figures a month. And her company, it changes, right? And it happens. But by the way, that happens in any profession. It could happen in real estate. It could happen definitely happen in corporate America. It could happen in any business. You can have a vending machine business and goes out. You can have an online business. Google changes the updates, right? I think, but the important thing is, if you build it once, You did it the right way, you can build it again. And she is growing way even faster than she ever has. Tells you it's not about necessarily about the company products, it's about you. You got to work on yourself all the time. And that's why I wanted her to bring up the mastermind. Is, I've attended different masterminds before for my business, online marketing masterminds, Rob Sperry's Leaders of Leaders masterminds, which I love. You have to connect. If you're doing this business by yourself, you're never going to make it. It's not that way. You got to be connected to some type of community, right? Whether it's where you meet in person, you go to your company events, that's how we get inspired. When you do this business by yourself, or you do anything by yourself, you're not going to do well. It's the same thing with baseball, my boys. I put my sons in tryouts and pressure situations so they can meet other kids. We take them to different tournaments so they can meet different teams, right? It's like when you're the best kid, you don't want to be like that. Like one of my youngest son, he's like the best kid in his team. And we switched over to a different team because I want to be like the worst kid, be around better kids with tougher coaches. Right? That's how you get better because they all want to play at a high level. That's what you got to do. So it applies to everything. You got to be really serious and coachable. And by the way, if you don't agree with me, then you need to be more coachable. Changing that mindset. Anyway, go follow Sarah. Definitely go to MLMNation.com. We'll put all the links on there with these updated details showing those pages. You can copy and save. Just go through those lessons and definitely check out her book. You get the free workbook as well. We'll put all the links in there. And please, hey, this took a lot of Sarah's time. She's busy. She's a mom. Took a lot of my time. I'm about to head over to take my other son to a baseball camp right now. Please subscribe to us on the podcast, whether it's Apple, Spotify. Subscribe, leave us a review, and subscribe to our YouTube channel as well. I put a lot of not just podcasts on there, but free courses. Courses I used to sell. I'm no longer selling. Put them all for free. But I felt like God spoke to me. That's my purpose. A lot of these courses about social media, but someone just messaged me the other day saying that she was shocked that I put it all for free. I put these guides now with videos all for free to serve you all. Right? And all I ask is subscribe and share it. That's the legacy I want to have. It's like I was a huge giver in this profession that's given me so much, giving me the mindset, the thinking to make an impact. So, hey, I can go on and on. I know I haven't been as, we changed up the podcast as well, where we're going every month because I felt there's so much overload, information overload, like another episode. I don't want you to binge listen. I want you to go back to this episode that Sarah taught and go implement her 3 C's: compliment, conversation, connection. Go implement that before you listen more and forget about this. Because you just listen, binge, you're going nowhere, right? That's why we've changed. We used to, when we first started off, there wasn't that many podcasts. You went 3 times a week. Then we went once a week. Now I want to go once a month. Less, but implement more. More implementation and less training. Because you got all the training you want. That's my message for you. And definitely follow Sarah. See what she did and copy and do what she's doing. Instead of just going on to listen to another podcast and listen to 10 episodes and you go nowhere. Hey, if you're stuck, you know what I'm talking about. More implementation, more action. Hey, God bless. I appreciate you for listening. I'm out of here. Go out there, implement what you learned, and have a positive impact in someone's life. God bless.